Welcome to Thursdays in the Kitchen with UT Extension. Starring Family Consumer Science Agent Shelby Boyer of Trousdale County, Michaela Pedigo of Macon County, and Kate Tippett of Sumner County. Now sit back and enjoy as we see what's cooking in the kitchen.
And happy Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Thursdays in the Kitchen with UT Extension. Today we are going to talk about one of my favorite fruits. We are talking about the strawberry. So, as you all know, there's a majority of local farms that are around this area that are going to be having strawberry picking times and growing your local favorites, such as those strawberries. And one thing that you could do with your family, and one of the things that we like to do, is we like to go either pick strawberries or pick up strawberries from one of our local farms. There's a bunch of local farms that you can choose from, such as Amazing Acres in Sparta, Circle S Farms in Lebanon, and even around surrounding counties. Just check those out online, and then sometimes those will even spread just by word of mouth. But to support our local farmers, especially during this time when things are kind of crazy and they don't really know what's going where, is by buying strawberries and going to pick from them. So today I'm going to share with you one of my favorite summer recipes that my mom has made for as long as I can remember, and that I get to make now to have in my house, is strawberry freezer jam. So let's look and see how I made mine.
Okay, so the ingredients you are going to need for your strawberry freezer jam is 4 cups of crushed strawberries, 8 cups of sugar, 2 packages of dry pectin, and I am using Sure Gel, a cup and a half of water, and the zest and the juice of 1 to 2 lemons. It really just depends on your preference. I'm only going to be using 1 for this, and it makes a big difference. So first, you're going to cut your strawberries up small size so that way they are easy to mash. I always cut mine up and double the measurement. So you need 4 cups of crushed strawberries. So I measured 8 cups of cut strawberries, and then when I mashed them up with my potato masher, they're going to reduce in size by half. So that way I will have the exact amount that I need, which is 4 cups. And I like using the potato masher because you can control the consistency of your strawberries. And that way you can see there, like, you have different pieces of your strawberry and it's not all completely pureed, because like I said, this is a jam and it's not a jelly. So after you have your strawberry mixture all mashed up, you are going to mix it in with your sugar. So I added it in there, and you're going to set that aside once it's completely combined. Next, you're going to put your pot on the stove, and you're going to turn it on to about medium to medium high heat, and you're going to add in your cup and a half of water. So what I did is I just measured mine up 3/4 at twice. And then you're going to add in both boxes of the Sure Gel pectin, and you're going to make sure that it gets dissolved completely. So I first kind of started in there with a wooden spoon, and then I chose a whisk to make sure that I broke up all the pieces of the pectin. You're going to bring it to a boil over the medium heat, and you're going to let it boil for 1 minute. So you see here that the mixture is kind of cloudy, but once you let it boil and cook for a little bit on the stove, it'll eventually become into a clear liquid, so it's not as cloudy, which is going to be good for your mixture. As you can see here, there's still some bubbles, but now after you let it cook for a little bit, the mixture becomes more clear. So once you have let your pectin boil for 1 minute, you're going to add in your strawberry mixture. And you're going to get that all stirred in there, and you're going to zest, and you're going to juice your lemon and just add it directly in. You want to make sure, like we said, to get the zest off of every spot on your lemon, but don't go into the white. And when you juice your lemon, I always juice mine upside, or like cup side up, so that way the seeds does not get into my mixture. Once you get all that added in, I add it back onto the heat, so that way it can kind of thicken a little bit, and I'll probably keep it on the heat for about 5 to 7 minutes, just depending on your mixture and how long it's been off the heat. So once you get it all stirred in there, you're going to let it cook a little bit. And one way that you know that it has thickened and the pectin is working is by, if you take your finger, you run it on the back side of your ladle, and you see that there's a line there, but there's no mixture suddenly coming back to it. And it's a very distinct line. So that way you know that your pectin is working and things are good to go. So after you get it on the stove and you cook it, you're wanting to set it aside for about 3 minutes and rest it completely, so that way you can spoon it into your plastic containers or your jars that you're going to use. So I put mine in plastic containers. You're going to let this sit for 24 hours, and then you will put the lids on them and you're going to let it freeze. All right, so now that you've seen how to make strawberry freezer jam, I've had some that I've had like left over that I've put in the refrigerator, and I'm going to show you one of my favorite ways to eat it. So I have some whole wheat toast here that I've just toasted up, and I'm spreading some cream cheese on here, some reduced fat cream cheese, and I'm literally just going to take my strawberry jam and just kind of drizzle it over it. Like, how good does that look? And just kind of spread it all around. So that way I'll just have a little bit of sweetness on my toast. Now, strawberry freezer jam is something that you can use to top and put on many different things. So for example, I've put it on pancakes before. My mom has set it out to put on biscuits. We have had it on everything from like brownies and ice cream to cheesecake. It's a good topping that you could just use, and it's universal. So next up, we have Michaela Pettigo that's going to talk to us about some nutrition facts that you guys do not want to miss. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to eat and enjoy my wonderful strawberry freezer jam.
Thank you, Shelby, for showing us how to make strawberry freezer jam. Now I'm going to cover some nutrition facts about strawberries and the main differences between jellies, jams, and preserves. Strawberries are one of America's most loved fruits, which may not be surprising to you because most people find them simply delicious. Now let's talk about nutrients found in strawberries. A cup of about 8 medium naturally sweet strawberries has only 50 calories, making them a healthy treat to satisfy your sweet tooth. And strawberries for dessert pack a powerful, nutritious punch. Strawberries are an excellent source of vitamin C. Just 1 cup contains approximately 89 milligrams of vitamin C, which achieves the recommended daily value for vitamin C of between 65 to 90 milligrams per day for adults. Vitamin C is needed for growth, body tissue repair, and a healthy immune system. Strawberries are also a good source of fiber. 1 cup of strawberries provides 3.3 grams of fiber, which aids in digestive health. Strawberries also contain antioxidants, including anthocyanins. These compounds give strawberries their bright red color and may help prevent some chronic diseases. Have you ever wondered what the main differences are between jellies, jams, and preserves? Well, the main differences are based on how much of the original fruit used is found in the final product. So let's go over the differences for each in more detail. Jellies have the smoothest consistency and are made by crushing a fruit and discarding the solid, chunky leftovers. This leaves only the fruit juice, which is then mixed with a substance called pectin and heated to form a gelatin spread. Jams are similarly made by crushing a fruit, but this spread leaves in most of the solid pieces of the fruit's fibers and seeds, if they're small enough and safe to consume, to give it a spreadable consistency. Of the three, preserves use the most of the fruit and are simply made with chopped smaller pieces of fruit mixed with sugar to keep them fresh and combined with a syrup or jam to contain them. So now you know how good strawberries are for you and the main differences between jellies, jams, and preserves. Now to Kate for food safety tips.
Thank you so much, Michaela. Today we're going to be talking about that little guy down there, your freezer, and food safety tips before freezing leftovers. Because right now, a lot of people, we're cooking more than we have cooked before. And that means that we have lots of leftovers that we can store and then reheat at a later date. Now, as long as you handle food properly, you cook it properly, and then freeze it properly, which means it'll remain at 0 degrees Fahrenheit, then your food will remain safe. So let's go ahead and go over some helpful freezer tips. Our first tip is to cool food rapidly. So you want to get food out of the danger zone, which is 40 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, as quickly as possible. So how do you cool those hot foods? First is you can divide large amounts of food into smaller, shallow containers. For example, a large pot of soup. It's going to hold that heat. You want to make sure that you're putting it into smaller containers so it can cool faster. Same thing with a large roast or a turkey, a whole turkey. You would cut large items of food into smaller portions. This allows them to cool faster. Again, going back to that pot of soup, if you needed to set it in an ice or cold water bath, you could definitely do that to bring it down to a safe temperature quickly. Just make sure that your container is large enough that the water is not entering the container, because that could cause bacteria growth problems. The next is to wrap leftovers well. So you want to wrap them in airtight packaging or seal them in storage containers. Immediately refrigerate or freeze them for even more rapid cooling. And a lot of people don't know that freezer burn is not a food safety issue. It is a food quality issue. It occurs when food is not securely wrapped in airtight packaging, and it causes dry spots in the food that we see with those little ice crystals. You want to store leftovers safely. So most leftovers can be kept in the freezer for 3 to 4 months. The longer you keep them in the freezer, the longer the possibility of moisture and flavor loss. Looking at this chart as a point of reference, you can see all the way from salads, which do not freeze well, down to leftovers, which we are talking about. There is a guide for you of how long to keep them in the freezer. Our last tip is how to thaw frozen leftovers safely. There are 3 methods. The first is the refrigerator method. So this takes the longest and involves some planning on your end, but your leftovers stay at a safe, controlled temperature in the refrigerator the entire time. You just want to make sure they are in a sealed container and on the lowest shelf, so they do not possibly drip onto any ready-to-eat foods. The next is cold water thawing. This is faster than refrigerator thawing, but it requires more attention. You have to make sure that the container remains sealed the entire time and that water does not seep into the food, because this again could cause bacteria growth. The last is microwave thawing. This is the fastest method, but you have to make sure that you're following the instructions of your microwave. If it tells you to stop and turn over the food item, make sure you're doing that. You don't want to actually start cooking the food during this method. You want to just thaw it. I hope you find these freezer tips very helpful. And until next time, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye.